banks show they collectively made a record profit.
Well, let's remember, just a few years on from the global financial crisis. So how is it they're doing so well? Nadine Chalmers-Ross has been investigating.
Chances are most people don't react the way the cooperative bank thinks its customers should when it makes a record profit.
Look at the interest they give on your money. Pretty poor. I think they're ripping us off as well.
I think the profit should be turned back into the community.
I'm inclined to boycott banks altogether.
The latest KPMG report shows our banks collectively made almost $4.3 billion in the year to April. That's up 22% on the previous year. Not a bad margin, only 6 years on from the darkest days of the global financial crisis.
The New Zealand banks were not savaged and didn't suffer the effects of the GFC. And so they have strong balance sheets. And as the New Zealand economy has picked up and grown, those strongly structured banks have done very well as a result of that.
But the future may not be so rosy as the restrictions on low deposit mortgages bite and lending slows down. There's no doubt the banks make big profits, but here are some other big numbers to consider. They collectively employ 26,000 New Zealanders and pay $1.5 billion in tax. And the banks argue KiwiSaver means Kiwis win when they do.
All of the KiwiSaver funds, as far as I'm aware, have exposure to, for example, the large Australian banks. And what that means is when they do make profit, those funds go through those KiwiSaver accounts.
Something to keep in mind, but perhaps still not enough to provoke this reaction. The bank's next report a record profit. So how do the banks make their money? I've been crunching some numbers and here is a very basic explanation. Banks make about 25% of their money from moving money around and charging fees like account fees and automatic payment fees. 75% of their money is made from borrowing and lending money out. So if you put $100 in, the banks contribute, say, $10 of their own money and hold that money or capital in reserve. They then lend the $100 out, charging, say, $7.25 in interest. They pay you $5 for lending it to them, giving on average a margin of $2.25. That's after tax, $1.62 profit on the $10 they put in. But if the borrower fails to pay their $7.25 in interest, the bank's income disappears, but it still has to pay you your $5. So in this extreme example, if that continues for a couple of years, it doesn't take long to eat up the bank's $10 of capital and the bank becomes insolvent, which is a brief explanation of why it's so important for the banks to remain profitable.
All right, it's the scenario.